Welcome back to the Void. Today we are going to go through one of the worst creators out there, one of the most ridiculous creators out there, one of the best lol cows out there. We are going to go through Call for an Uprising. Now, I know Call. Through years and years of following content that laughs at him because he is worth a laugh and nothing else. He is one of those conspiracy theorists who believes in satanic numbers and the checkerboard and Masonic symbols and 666 and fill in the blank here. If there's a conspiracy theory, Call for an Uprising not only likely believes it, but promotes it. He is dangerous in his anger, but also futile. It's futile anger. He has escaped from my void too many times to count, jumping from channel to channel, never accepting the fate that YouTube gives him whenever it bans one of his channels. Because he has had channels banned in the past for anti-Semitic reasons, for medical misinformation reasons, for all sorts of reasons. He's been a terrible influence, and whether it's bots or people, he has always been able to make it to 10,000 subscribers and several thousand views on his stuff. He really promotes his videos. So, let's see what he's talking about today and whether or not it's even worth considering what he's suggesting.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the
I'm gonna just pause it.
beginning of time.
Okay, here we go.
But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
So there was a lot in that intro, and I just want to take a moment and admire that Call is many things. A terrible person, transphobe, but he has a well-animated and well-narrated intro. I will give him that. That part of his video quality is good. Now let's get into the crazy stuff, because we're already crazy on just this headline. Shedding light on 5G street furniture. What's he gonna say about this?
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is an important video about the 5G rollout that's occurring on January 5th. It still is occurring, despite now stories today coming out that there's going to be a delay, at least around some of the airports, for 2 weeks. Now, most of you have commented many times over saying, well, the 5G is already here. It's already been out. Agreed, 100%. We all know that. The 5G towers can be located all around us.
So, for those who don't know, 5G is... What he's talking about is a conspiracy theory that says 5G is a dangerous signal that emits radiation that harms people. In what way is it harmful? Well, that varies based on who you ask. Some people say it activates the vaccine. Other people say it clouds your mind. Others say it gives you cancer. Others say it can be targeted beams against people that they, in quotes, don't like. 5G is basically a buzzword for new technology that is dangerous and futuristic.
We can see them. We know during this entire thing that's occurred that they've been putting 5G towers up. That's one of the reasons they wanted a lot of people indoors, so they can constantly just be putting these things up.
Okay, and here we get to how 5G has worked its way into the anti-vax and anti-mask communities. They are using this pandemic as They don't believe in this pandemic. Those communities do not believe in this pandemic. They think it is a false flag psyop. I don't know what the term would be. They think it's fake. And that they are being lied to by the government. So that the government can set up these towers more quickly now that there aren't as many people like out in the streets or out driving. It doesn't make sense. Like, okay, if you're trying to put up 5G towers, where would they go? They would go up high so that they can reach more area, right? Where they would put these towers, there aren't people. People are down on the ground. Now, there is like the traffic issues of moving stuff to those towers, but that is not the most serious inhibitor of building these towers. The people in the way is not the issue. And if people saw that they were doing this, it would look like someone is putting up a cell phone tower. Because that's basically what's happening. The government and cell phone and internet companies are putting up internet and cell phone towers so that people can have access to 5G internet, which is really heckin' fast.
Up and hiding them in certain places.
What he's suggesting
trees,
is complete
wherever
nonsense.
else, hoping that nobody notices.
Okay, that's a reference to those towers that are decorated to look like pine trees. Again, it's not something you need to actually worry about. They just do that for aesthetic reasons because it's nicer to look at a fake tree than it is to look at a real cell tower.
The rollout is going to be significant because a lot of them are going to be turned on. And one of the things I want to cover...
A lot of them are turned on, Call. I have 5G in my house. My router is giving my computer 5G Wi-Fi currently. So I am being bombarded by 5G. And I'm fine.
Well, a lot of them are going to be turned on that haven't been turned on yet. And one of the things I wanted to cover to make...
Oh, I see. No, Call, it's not going to hurt you.
You
You're
guys
fine.
aware, because I'm not sure if anyone is aware, but I know some of you at least are, who follow this stuff and follow the EMFs and follow the dangers of all of it.
Electromagnetic frequencies. That's what EMF stands for. Again, dangerous mumbo jumbo, that doesn't really mean anything. If you hear people talking about magnets, they probably are talking about EMFs. That's what I'm saying, Eric.
Is the street lights. Now, obviously, I've been covering the street lights with the purple lights, right? We've all talked about that and the Luciferians and the purpose of the purple lights. And what
Luciferians, meaning Satanists, meaning people who he believes worship Satan. It's another term for the they group.
what they're trying to do with the purple lights and why they're going to be all over the place. That's the black lights, so to speak, the purple lights, where people are reporting in almost every single state now with the same excuse of, oh, it's an accident, we're going to go and replace them. Shouldn't that...
I don't know what he's talking about here.
Now, with the same excuse of, oh, it's an accident, we're reporting in almost every single state now with the same excuse of, oh...
Black... I don't know if this is completely made up and false, or if it's genuine, like they have set up 5G things that have needed repairs. But either way, call. This is not harmful radiation. This is not harmful light rays or 5G rays. It's not gonna hurt people. It's just sometimes you need to upgrade.
It's an accident. We're going to go and replace them. Shouldn't that have happened the first time that this went out and it was a mistake? And then everyone checked and made sure they didn't just keep it.
Yes, but 5G is still a new technology, so we are working on it. Not to mention America's infrastructure is kind of shoddy. So if we're building new stuff on top of old stuff that's, not made great, then we are going to be going back and repairing it because the foundation we built the new stuff on needs repairs.
Installing these things, but they've installed them in almost every state. But one of the things is that the street lights and the 5G, because we know these people are snakes, right? So what they want us to do is go
literal snakes.
Go
I'm not
around
kidding.
looking for.
He thinks they're literal snakes, lizard people. He thinks they're this evil cabal that are Satan worshipping demons and are trying to bring about the end of the world.
These towers all over the place, but what they're really doing is they're hiding the 5G technology inside of things like streetlights. So, for example, I mean, this guy just happened to find it, and some people are like, well, that's not really what's going on. Well, it's exactly what's going on.
This is an LED streetlight. Let's see what's inside.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Apparently, this is an LED 5G streetlight.
Okay.
It's pretty neat.
So we got nothing. We just know that they put some kind of 5G compatibility into a street lamp, probably so that when they send a signal to turn on and off, it turns on and off rapidly when you tell it to.
What we're seeing is 5G being installed in locations that you will not be able to detect them and track them. And one of the things that they're doing, I'm not sure if you've heard about this, in addition to the purple lights, is a lot of cities are popping up now wanting to install new streetlights, LED streetlights, to stop crime. We've heard about this.
Okay, so let's look up cities installing LED streetlights. Okay, here's one from Toledo.ohio.gov. All right, so it's a .gov site. Should be reliable, right? Mayor Kapzukowicz. Is that how you say it? Kapzukowicz installs LED fixtures to complete 2020 streetlight conversion program. Why would you install LED lights? So they're converting them, so that means they're replacing old ones, right? Install LED streetlight fixtures. Oh, that's it. It's all no information. Okay. Let's try here. CortlandStandard.net. I don't know about this site. We will proofread it. You'll look at its accuracy afterwards. Aragon. But the 5G is what made you trans plural kinky. Hey. I did not say I am kinky. I simply talked about trans people being kinky, of which I am a trans person. Whether I am kinky or not is a mystery left to the void. But you're right. The 5G is totally responsible for what made me a trans person. It was definitely the 5G that made me come out when I was in college back in 2013, 2014. When was it? Somewhere around there. Definitely had 5G result in my trans identity back then. Yep, you're right. Not even going to mention when 5G was first released, because it was definitely before that, right? Right? Trans people are only a result of new technology, right? They're not a thing that's always been around. Anyways. Streetlights in the city. 3 to 4 months to complete. Here we go. The project will eventually replace all of the city's nearly 1,600 streetlights. But on Tuesday and Wednesday, workers from the D&D Power, the contractor company, started replacing about a dozen streetlights that had been reported as out. So they're already fixing streetlights that are like out, that they would have had to replace anyways, and just putting in the LEDs. Why? 2.4 million spread over 15 years, so very cheap to do. Said the project will pay for itself. Here we go. Here's why they're using LEDs. Will pay for itself in reduced electricity costs and maintenance. The city spends about $400,000 a year for electricity, maintenance, and rental fees, and switching to LEDs will save $160,000, which means it will only cost $240,000. That is a significant. That is almost half the price. That is incredible. So it rents them from someone who puts them up. The city would buy. Oh, and not only that, but this city that's putting up these LEDs would no longer rent them from a private company, but would own them as part of public property and not have to pay the rental costs, which is adding to the savings. Okay, so that explains why people would use LEDs. Actually, before that, I just want to make sure this site is good and reliable. So just going to check this. All right, seems like just a basic news site. Cortland Standard fact check. So we now know why LEDs. Okay, so I'm not finding anything, but seems reliable. We got it. We got at least some basic information out of it, and they are giving honest information. All right, seems to be a reliable source, right? Okay. So we can trust that LEDs are more energy efficient than the normal incandescent bulbs, right? Simple enough. 5G in street lamps. Now, why would they be putting 5G in street lamps? Maybe causing mysterious ailments, from mysteriousuniverse.org 2018. 5G street lamps, wdsu.com. Here we go. No. I'm trying to look for a site that is going to be reliable. And a lot of what I'm getting at first is conspiracy news. I can tell because the first one, where is it? The first one, may be causing mysterious ailments. Mysteriousuniverse.org. Mysterious Universe tends to be New Age things that question the universe without actually providing answers. Welcome! Welcome! Thank you! Thank you for the follow. Sophie Stinks. Welcome to the Void. We are talking about Call for an Uprising. Just a laughably horrible person who believes 5G is a sign of the Satanists extending their power and trying to destroy the good people of this world. And we're trying to find out why people would actually be putting 5G in street lamps. So, there was a site down here that looked reliable. Definitely not touching governmentslaves.news, because just the government slaves, definitely unreliable. Technocracy. No, this is not reliable either. Why you should be worried about connected street lamps. Emanitra, prep for that. Cancer.news. Aspen Daily News. No. Alright. So, let's check this site. wdsu.com. Okay, it's a local news site, it looks like. So we're going to go to it and make sure it's reliable before we even touch the article. Got to make sure that what we're doing here is safe. Okay, first thing I see, talking about COVID-19 updates, Delta transmission, Omicron concerns. Good site. That means they trust the CDC, which Louisiana parishes see increased community spread. Okay, so they are at least honest about the effect that churches can have on their community. That also means that it's less likely to be right-leaning, which, when we're dealing with conspiracy theorists, is a good thing. Doesn't necessarily vouch for everything, but it's a positive sign. Let's see. Children's hospitals, pandemic, hospitalizations. All right. So this is just a basic local NBC outlet. Reliable. May not be like the most politically unbiased, but it's not going to... It's going to give us reliable enough information. NBC News bias rating. So we go here, bias rating, media bias fact check. Here we go. Left center bias. So middle of the road, a little bit more left leaning, definitely going to give us a different idea than what Call is going to give us. Very left center. I thought it was going to be about but much closer to least biased, but okay. Based on story selection and word choices, but reasonable fact check record. That's good. Because we can dissect word choice. What we can't necessarily dissect as easily is whether or not they're including all of the facts. So if they're including reliable facts, we're set. Good, we can trust this article. New Orleans. Glade Bilby has spent weeks spotting new poles in the French Quarter, debating whether they belong in an industrial park or a war zone. They look like some Scud missiles, said Bilby, who has called New Orleans' neighborhood home for 4 decades and is currently president of the French Quarter Citizens. It's hardly something that fits in the French Quarter. Back in October, crews dismantled dozens of street lamps so they can put up 5G towers in their place. Okay. Replacing street lamps with 5G. Here we go. This is what we want. The towers will enable better cell service as well as lights and other decorations that resemble the old lamps. So basically, what's happening here, at least in this city, is that they are putting 5G cell towers in street lamps so that there's consistent 5G coverage across the city and disguising it to look like regular utility items, such as a street lamp or could be a bench or something. Who knows? Supply chain backlogs have delayed the arrival, which is why it looks so bad. Okay, I think this happens a lot with a lot of things in the city, where they start something and don't finish it for one reason or another. Bilby said, suggesting crews should have waited for all supplies to arrive before starting construction. It's almost like demolition by neglect on purpose. I'm going to leave that be. I'm not going to touch that. That's a different argument altogether. And the outcry isn't just about looks. French Quarter resident Bob Sims says the lack of completed street lamps is leaving parts of his Dumaine Street block and others nearby in the dark. It's not that bright, he said. From a deterring crime point of view, having it dark is not the best idea. Sims notes crews have installed temporary motion-censored lights atop the new poles, but he argues one light per pole isn't enough. Okay, so not exactly street lamps. Temporary. Oh, sorry. These are on the temporary ones that aren't complete yet. Okay, so welcome, Sophie. Hello. It's nice to see you. I love that little icon you have. That's so cute. The little fox. Adorable. Where was I? So the light. So they are putting something up that's motion censored, but it's not like as effective. Okay. Tells WDSU that willing to install more temporary lights on a case-by-case basis, and they're working as fast as possible amid the supply issues. Okay, so I'm just going to skip this because this is not about what we need. City officials expect the 5G poles to have permanent light fixtures installed by March 1st, so Mardi Gras revelers can party with more lights and better cell reception. Pretty cool. This was written in December 2021. So this process is currently still ongoing. They are putting them up as we speak. No, shush. So we come back to Call. Here we go. Here. Okay, so Call, coming back to him, remember, he thinks this is a conspiracy, that 5G is being installed for nefarious purposes so that we don't know it's
huge
there.
Crime wave in America. Oh, the crime wave. I'm
going to rewind just a little bit. But I just want to point out, he thinks these aren't being installed for nefarious purposes, when we just found out that the only nefarious thing about this is when they leave street lamps half completed and it leaves places in the dark. That's the most nefarious that it gets.
Cities are popping up now wanting to install new streetlights, LED streetlights, to stop crime. We've heard about this.
It's more energy efficient, and it helps save space because they can be smaller and just as bright.
Huge crime wave in America.
Which means they have more room
Oh,
for
the
5G.
crime wave, to defund the police. The cities are coming out because remember, they want smart cities, which I'll show you here in a minute. But the cities are coming out and talking about replacing old streetlights because they're dim and they're not effective. And apparently crimes are high because they're dim and not effective, with LED lights so that they're more bright and people can see and they're energy efficient. But in reality, these new streetlights are installed with 5G type technology that they're going to use and turn on and crank up.
Okay. Call, buddy, friend. 5G, when they turn it on, the only thing that's going to be turned on and cranked up by turning 5G on is your cell phone when it can suddenly load a video in a second. Like, it is exponentially faster to watch, to download and stream and do things in 5G than it is on 4G. That is the only difference that I know of between 5G and 4G. It is not some nefarious radiation.
A citywide project in Atlanta aims to reduce crime over time, but is there evidence to actually support that the project will work as it's planned?
Yeah, Hope Ford explains why lighting up the night may reveal more shadows.
Before her time as Atlanta's leader ends, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announced a new plan.
So
And
at this
that's our
point,
Light
he
Up
just
the
put in a
Night
whole
initiative.
clip from someone
The
else
city
and just
partners
like
with the
threw it
Atlanta
in to
Department of
extend his video
Transportation
length.
and Georgia Power to install 10,000 lights by the end of 2022.
Come on.
You may have noticed new lights on Goleta's streets. That's because after 4 years of planning and preparation, the city
We don't
has
need
begun
this. I'm gonna speed
installing
past
new
this.
LED streetlights. Fox 11's Blake Devine explains how these new lights will help cut costs while also brightening things up.
Cecilia Brown has lived in Goleta for quite some time.
Yeah, okay. Get to the point.
Into her backyard every night.
I didn't like that because I could go out and read a book in my backyard. It was so light.
Now, things have changed, with the city of Goleta flipping the switch over to LED lights in her neighborhood.
Now with the LED light, with more directed focus light and a backside shield, my backyard is dark, and I appreciate that.
Project manager Michael Winnewisser says it'll save the city around $115,000 annually in energy savings.
So you notice how they're talking about how the light is more focused on the street, where you would look for like criminals in the case of like keeping people safe. It is more energy efficient. You keep hearing that because it is. It is genuinely easier to have LED bulbs than incandescent.
With requiring much less maintenance.
They're more energy efficient.
There you go.
They save the city money. They've reduced the cost of maintaining them. So it's really just overall a great project for the city.
Since the start of September, it's been out with the old, in with the new. As crews have begun the prolonged process of installing over 1,400
Honestly,
LED
gotta give it to Call.
We have our contractor
He
out
found a
going
good source
street to street, light
to
to
get
light,
some
replacing
information
all these
on
lights, these older
And then he's gonna
high-pressure
spin it to
sodium
something
lights
else
with newer
entirely.
LEDs.
These brand new lights have a warm white glow, and while the light is bright, it's directed downward, complying with dark sky standards.
The new one that we're getting are
unrelated, but as someone who's genuinely concerned about climate change and pollution, to hear that we are cutting down on our light pollution, that is a huge relief to me personally, because I want to see the void of space. I want to know, I want to be back where I belong, in the void. And to be able to go out and not be blinded by these lights, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
LED, a lot more compact, clean, brighter, wider light.
This is a once-in-a-generational project, so they won't be replacing these lights, except for those that go out, for a long time.
City officials expect this project to be complete by the end of October. In Goleta, Blake Devine, Fox 11 News.
So the increase in these streetlights is obviously not because, excuse me, not an increase in these streetlights, but the putting these streetlights in, right, and taking out the old streetlights and replacing streetlights with these LED streetlights is so that they can get this type of technology in there, which of course is leading to the smart cities and the smart tech.
Call? They didn't say anything about 5G during that whole video. Nothing about 5G. So you mentioning that, you're bringing in outside information that may not even be relevant to this city. They may not even be putting 5G in this city. That may have been a different city in a different place in the country.
Technology.
I don't know because I haven't got any information about where that guy was.
My idea of a smart home is having a digital chef who will show me how to cook healthy meals
Okay, so this
based
is
on
just
what I have in my
marketing
fridge.
for.
Now that
Ooh,
would
it's
be
gonna be
awesome.
cool and
This will
futuristic.
soon become a reality with 5G
They're
technology.
just trying to
with
sell
ultra low
5G.
latency and
Whatever
real-time
companies.
connectivity at blistering speed, the way we do business is set to change.
Metaverse for
So yeah, as I was saying before, 5G is exponentially faster. So I'm not surprised companies are pouncing on it to like catch data faster and move quicker. Note the
example
metaverse
is the
on
ability to
bottom.
host multiple services on a
hates
single
metaverse.
digital platform where we can interact with avatars or attend virtual consultations using VR headsets in our own 5G homes. These new connected experiences will transform our living spaces to be more efficient, sustainable, and inclusive.
Putting the human experience at the core of design will be key by shaping hyper-connected cities. The 5G revolution is not a matter of if, but when.
Let's check out that site, accenturec.com. I want to do the research and make sure we're doing everything right here. Because Call throws a lot at you. This is not right. Okay, domain does not exist anymore. Oh wait, hang on.
So these are things that we have to keep an eye on because they're not just going to be located inside of streetlights, but streetlights are obviously one of.
Okay, here we go. Now the site's loading. Fjord trends. Okay, so what do we got? Cyber resilience, synthetic data, banking. Okay, so this is talking all about how technology will make things faster and better. What is this place? Join us. Here we go. Nope, don't care. Case studies and stories. Banking on data. So it seems like this is either a company or an organization devoted to increasing the amount of 5G in places for a CEO. So probably a company. Probably its whole business thing is about 5G and spreading that kind of information around the world, providing 5G conversions to different companies, services, yeah, all sorts. Like they have cloud services, data and analytics, ecosystem services. So they're a data company. Data company that helps convert things into the newest technology. So basically that was marketing.
To stash this type of technology because there's a street light pretty much in every city about 100 feet apart from one another, maybe a little bit more. I don't know the exact details on it, but obviously you see street lights in a row. And then of course they're talking about bringing these LED street lights into communities, bringing them into developments, into suburbia, right? They're talking about how they need, oh, well, we can stop crime in these, people are getting robbed in these small towns or in these developments or these communities. Well, now we can bring in the LED streetlights so it's even brighter, so it's harder for these criminals to get away, right? Those are the excuses and the types of things they use so that they can get this type of technology, this technology that is going to completely just radiate people and do more than just that. Because remember, people are going to be hooked up to this type of technology if they have a certain something inside of them, right?
Okay, so here is where he is referring to the vaccine. This is where he is saying that the something is the vaccine that they have been shot up with, as he would say, that we think it's for our own health, but secretly it's so that when they put up the 5Gs, we can be more than human, extra human. I don't know exactly where he's going with this, but he's making it out like being vaccinated is going to negatively impact you if you are around 5G.
We've heard the World Economic Forum. We've heard all of these leaders talk about the advancement and the new age of technology being in people, not on people. And so in other words, not being just about, oh, well, my 5G cell phone and there's a 5G streetlight, a 5G tower. They want you connected to this technology. You. The only way you can be connected is have something inside you, okay? And it's probably deeper than just what they're currently doing because there's going to be something permanent because at the moment, it's not something that's permanent. That's why
there is medical science that's about collecting data from inside you. I'm not going to say that there's not. There's a lot that we can learn from having monitoring technology in a person to like monitor their heart rate and health. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be that's what he says, where it's like changing our humanity. We're being monitored constantly by 5G and affected by it. It's not how it works.
They want to constantly get something else in you. Boost! Excuse me, Gesundheit. And this is all done.
Thank you.
On purpose.
Thank you,
the development
Erica.
of 5G
I've been drinking water during this.
Is something
so
that you're hearing a lot of these
about
telecom
me.
companies pushing, shedding light on 5G street furniture. That's what they're calling it. Some websites like this are calling it street furniture. So they can put them in light poles inside of cities and then other small vendors and things like that so that they...
Okay, look. You have here 5G street lights connecting to cars that seem to be receiving that signal, as well as people who are receiving 5G on their phones. So there is plenty of Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden you have people on Google Maps, boom, 5G Wi-Fi, gonna be super fast and effective. People on Spotify, super fast and effective. People driving self-driving Tesla cars, I mean, hopefully that works. There's a lot of problems, but on a 5G system, at least they'll be able to react faster.
We suddenly have smart cities, right? In these cities that are running on the 5G technology. Mobile operators densify their radio access networks to put 5G's capabilities to their full use in street furniture. In particular, street lighting infrastructure is set to play an increasingly important role enabling that, as well as providing lots of other smart city capabilities. Using streetlights as a way to deploy wireless access infrastructure isn't new, but it's also not that widespread yet, and is only just starting to play a role in 5G expansion plans. And this is one of the things with this rollout, this is part of the deployment, is this. And so people aren't really going to know, but by a technological default, in a sense, if people start reading that there's, they're emitting 5G all over these cities, they're going to say, look, AT&T, Verizon, these companies came out, they told you there was going to be a big rollout, that's why there's more radioactivity, that's why you're finding more radiation, that's why the EMF meters are going crazy, and people are like, oh, I don't even see the towers. They'll be like, oh, don't worry about it.
Call the 5G radio. Okay, you know what? I'm going to get a source for this. Types of radiation, all right? There is a spectrum of radiation that is harmful. There is a spectrum of radiation that is not harmful. I can go out under the sun and not be harmed by its rays unless I expose myself to a dangerous degree. Okay, here we go. Different types of radiation. Okay, Science 101. Okay, so this is a very basic overview of electromagnetic radiation. This is what we want. X-rays and gamma rays. These are the most familiar because they're most widely used in medical treatments. Doesn't really tell us anything else useful? Gamma, okay. Spectrum. So let's look at the electromagnetic spectrum, right? So electromagnetic rays are what he's so concerned about, right? It's what's so dangerous. Here we have all of the different kinds of 5G radiation, right? Not 5G, of different kinds of radiation. We have the visible radiation. Guess what, Call? The light that you see, that's electromagnetic radiation. The light emitting from your computer right now is electromagnetic radiation. But it's not hurting you. You're fine. You're not going to get cancer from staring at your screen. Not unless you're like incredibly susceptible already. Then you have gamma rays, which are like the most potent. Once we get above X-ray, it gets dangerous enough to be harmful. X-rays are not harmful unless you are exposed to them over a long period of time consistently. Whereas you move in the other direction, you see humans emitting radiation, buildings emitting radiation, radio waves down here, long waves of radiation. This kind of radiation is low density, not nearly as harmful. Let's see, Wi-Fi. Where does Wi-Fi spec in on this kind of chart? So we have, it's perfectly framed. Good. Where is it? Cell phones. 10 to the 8th. Okay, way down here, non-ionizing radiation. This is the stuff traditionally perceived as harmless due to its lack of potency. Cell phone radiation, radio radiation, computer radiation. So all of this stuff that's traditionally perceived as harmless has much less health risks than X-ray or UV rays, which is what the sun emits. That stuff is fine for us. The numbers, by the way, are frequency, so wavelength. The lower the number, the closer it is to zero, the longer the waveform is going to be. So 10 to the second is 100 waves per second, I believe. So frankly, for something that travels at the speed of light, for only 100 waves to pass you by, that is incredibly low energy. And that is not harmful to you at all. So if you're saying 5G is dangerous, 5G works on like 10 to the second to 10 to the 8th spectrum. That is incredibly safe.
Because the towers are all around you, right? You just don't know it. You don't need to see one of these huge towers like you see constantly when we talk about this stuff, because they are putting it inside of other places. Remember all the stuff that was going on in the UK last year, which I covered, where people were literally taking these things down?
Southern California.
They even got to a point where they weren't letting anyone talk about that stuff on YouTube. I don't even know if I can talk about it now, but they obviously have bigger fish to fry at the moment with censorship on here, because there's certain something which obviously connects to this 5G capability.
Yep, talking about the vaccine again.
At the moment. And of course, they're going to get away with doing this with the technology, because all they have to do is come out and tell you it's safe and it's not dangerous, even though many scientists, many people in technology have come out and said that they don't believe that it's safe. They go on, they say, well, we need to beat Russia, we need to beat Germany, we need to beat the other countries to make sure that we have it. So we can download music faster, so we can get the next
he always does that.
Downloaded quicker. I mean, what? They tell you it has to do with many other things in the cyber world, and it'll protect us from cyber attacks and all that stuff. Even those are all things that are done from within. So the rollout is not just about
I'm not saying they can't come from within, right? That the cyber attacks can't come from within. If you're saying like within the country, that's possible. But also we need to worry about Russia and China and countries that have literally tried to hack our country, literally tried to hack into the power grid, or hack into our elections and affect the what we perceive as news. Like, we have to be aware of that, and 5G is a way to more quickly respond to that. If you mean, however, that the they is actually a they, the people in power, the mysterious Satanists that you believe in, that's not something we need to worry about. Hang on.
And all that stuff, even those are all things that are done from within. So
it's not going to be some conspiracy where that's what you're saying right now. You're saying that that people are going to incite some kind of dangerous event that harms people simply because they can? Like, why would they do this?
The rollout is not just about turning on a switch. It's also about an increase in this type of stuff popping up in cities specifically, and suburbia as well, which is true. But the rollout in Atlanta, the rollout in some of these other places where they're saying, look, the street lights are dim, we have a huge wave in crime, now we're going to get these LED lights. The zombies go, that's wonderful. Well, we can see even
Zombies
better.
being
like, that's going to
normies.
stop crime from happening, apparently. Then why don't you just put huge bright lights everywhere? I mean, it's just insanity. But this is their way of saying, okay, we can get these 5G towers up all over the place without actually popping up the actual massive towers. We could have the 5G capability, which might not reach as far as a tower will reach because it's a smaller, it's not as big as the towers are per se, but if we have one every 100 feet, it'll have the same effect. So keep an eye out on this stuff in your town, in your cities. Make people aware. This is part of the rollout. This is part of the deception that they're using to get people on board, or not even on board, not willingly on board. And of course, you saw like the video clip I showed you with the smart cities. The goal is to have that, the smart cities, the smart suburbia, all of it, right? Where everyone is connected to technology, and they're thinking in their heads like, oh, I'm connected to technology because I have the newest iPhone, 5G. No, your body, you are going to be connected to the technology.
Cool.
And that's the
Make
scary
me
part.
a robot. Make me an android. Make my body customizable. I don't care. I want that. That sounds great. I do want to be aware of the data concerns because I don't want Facebook hacking into my brain. But I don't see a problem necessarily with letting myself be like Cybertronic or whatever. Frankly, if I could upgrade my body, I would.
But these zombies don't believe it yet. But they don't even realize that most of them are already hooked up to it. And that's the scariest part of all. So keep an eye on this stuff. Obviously, I'll be reporting on the 5G.
The vaccine is not going to make me an android. The vaccine is not going to give me some kind of magic robot powers that I can improve my life or serve the cabal with. Don't worry, this is the last video, Aragon. I understand that it's getting late.
Roll out, as well as a lot of the other stuff that's going on in the world.
This is going on longer than I thought.
Please consider joining the website at callforuprising.com.
Call
It's
requires
$2.99 a month.
special.
It is troll free. It is advertising free.
Special
it's just
amount
a
of
great place for
research.
people to
I'm not
interact.
going to listen to your
Obviously,
promotion of yourself.
Everybody's pretty responded to one another. You're not going to really. It's pretty rare somebody posts something that someone doesn't respond to.
Oh, you know what?
There's a lot of feedback. There's a lot
It
of
would be a
interaction with
shame
us
if someone
where everyone's
reported
supporting each
this
other, and of
for
course, there's things
medical
about
misinformation.
people who have lost their jobs over the potion,
or
being able to network and find new jobs. Communities, people who want to start communities, form communities. Talk about
dangerous
homesteading,
ideas
living off the
about
land. So much
5G.
stuff over there. So check it out if you haven't. It's well worth it. And of course, you can always appreciate the stuff that's being shared over there. So check it out if you haven't. I want to thank the page.
Yeah, Call has a Patreon, by the way. He, despite being an anti-Semitic piece of shit, he is someone who is he's someone who still has a Patreon. It will not be removed for some reason. It's been reported.
On here because there's certain something which
I'm gonna find the timestamp for you if you want to report it.
They even got to a point where they weren't letting anyone talk about that stuff on YouTube. I don't even know if I can talk about it now, but they obviously have bigger fish to fry at the moment with censorship on here because there's.
Okay. Report. And after this, we'll watch. Hang on. We're just going to make sure we report this because this is dangerous information. Promotes terrorism, spam, or misleading. Caption issues. Hateful or abusive content. Man, why is there not a medical misinformation thing? Harmful or dangerous acts. No, let's hateful content. Oh no, what's happening? Is this video going to disappear into the void? Oh, it's hatred of violence. Applies to the links. Call is associating a 5G conspiracy theory with the COVID-19 vaccine, suggesting that 5G will interact with the vaccine in harmful and dangerous ways to allow, quote unquote, them to track and modify people. Okay, report. Okay, well, that was Call for an Uprising. He is a giant piece of work, and I don't think we'll be returning to him for a while. I think we need a break. He's intense. Alright. He's gonna belong to the void for a good long while.